Hello and welcome to Startup Sluts, your favorite podcast about everything entrepreneurship. You've already seen the part 1 of startup fundraising, and today we're presenting the part 2. We'll talk about everything from the investments and the term sheets and everything you need as a founder to know about the fundraising. So sit tight and enjoy.
Welcome to Startup Sluts, where we keep it real. No sugar-coated stories, just the raw deal.
Now, it's time to talk about what type of investments might happen. There are 3 main types you will encounter in the German-speaking world: a direct equity investment, a convertible note, and a special type of subordinated loan. The straightforward deal is equity investment. First, let's talk about the most classic form, a direct equity investment. This is the one everybody pictures. You sell a slice of your company pie, the company creates new shares, and the investor buys them. The money they invest flows directly into your startup's bank account, increasing its overall value. In return, the investor becomes a full-fledged shareholder with all the rights and responsibilities that come with it. It's clear, clean, and simple. However, it requires a formal valuation of your company right now, and it's hard because the process can be long, expensive, and lead to tough negotiations, especially when your startup is very young. The early stage favorite is the convertible note. Now, for what is often a founder's best friend in the early days is the convertible note. This is the go-to instrument for most pre-seed and seed rounds because it cleverly avoids the biggest hurdle of the early stage deal, setting a concrete valuation. A convertible note is essentially a loan that is designed to convert into equity at a later date, usually during your next, more formal funding round, like your Series A, for example. This is a huge advantage. It's faster, cheaper, and lets you kick the can down the road on the valuation debate until you have more data and traction to back up your numbers. But investors are not just giving you a simple loan. They are taking a big risk and they need to be rewarded for it. And this reward comes into 2 key terms: the discount and the valuation cap. First, the discount. The investor's note will convert into equity at a discount to the price the next investors pay. A typical discount is 20%. So, if your Series A, investors are buying shares for 10 euros each, your convertible note holder would get them for 8 euros. It's their reward for believing in you early. And second is the valuation cap. This is a ceiling on the valuation at which the note converts. Think of it as an insurance policy for the investor. Let's say you agree for a €1 million cap. If your next funding round happens at a massive 10 million valuation, the convertible note investor does not have to convert at the high price. They get to convert it as if the valuation was 1 million, giving them a much larger percentage of the company. It protects them from being punished for their early risk by a runway valuation. A convertible note is fast and flexible, but those 2 terms, discount and cap, are where the real negotiation happens. Now, the niche player, HTGF model. I'd also like to briefly highlight the situation in Germany, particularly with public VCs like the high-tech Gründerfonds. They often use a hybrid investment structure, known as a subordinated loan with a conversion option. At first glance, it might seem like a generous check, but a significant portion is actually structured as a loan. In the future funding rounds, the investor can use this loan to maintain their ownership stake rather than contributing fresh capital. So be cautious. While it can be a helpful starting point, this setup may carry long-term implications for your cap table and financial strategy. And last but not least, this is something we were advised not to do, and I strongly recommend you don't either. Services for equity means a media or IT company offers things like TV ads, banner placements, or app development in exchange for shares. It might sound attractive, especially early on, but there is a catch. These services are usually billed at inflated list price. With real investor cash, you could likely get the same value for much less. You are often better off taking the money and buying only what you truly need.
Now is a very important topic we need to cover: the evaluation of a company. At the heart of every funding round, there are two key terms: pre-money valuation and post-money valuation. Understanding the difference is non-negotiable. Think of it this way: the pre-money valuation is what your company is valued at before the investor's money hits your bank account. The post-money valuation is the value of your company immediately after the investment. The formula is incredibly simple but very powerful. Post-money valuation is pre-money valuation plus the investment amount. Imagine an investor agrees to invest $500,000 into your startup at a pre-money valuation of $3.5 million. Your post-money valuation is easy to calculate. $3.5 million plus the $500,000 investment equals $4 million. Simple, right? The inevitable consequences: dilution. But here is the crucial next step. What does that mean for you, the founder? This is where we talk about dilution. By bringing in a new investor, the existing shareholders, that's you and your co-founders, get diluted. Your ownership percentage goes down. To figure out by how much, you need another simple formula. The new investor's ownership stake is investor stake percent is investment amount divided by post-money valuation. Let's go back to our explanation. The investment is $500,000 and the post-money valuation is $4 million. So $500,000 divided by $4 million is 12.5%. This means the new investor now owns 12.5% of your startup, and you, the founders, have just been diluted by the same amount. If you earned 90% of the company before the deal, you now own only 12.5% less of it. Your slice of the pie got smaller, but the crucial thing to remember is that the entire pie just got bigger. Working backwards, the investor's offer. Now, let's flip the script, because this is how it often happens in the real world. An investor might not give you a pre-money valuation. Instead, they say, I'll give you $500,000 for 5% of your company. So, what's the implied valuation? To figure this out, you have to work backward. If $500,000 equals 5% of the company, then the total post-money valuation must be $500,000 divided by 0.05, which is 10 million. And to get the pre-money valuation, you just subtract the investment from the post-money valuation. So 10 million minus 500,000 gives you a pre-money valuation of 9.5 million. And this is the moment where you start to really feel the power of these numbers. You start playing the game in your head. You think, okay, and what if the same 500,000 was for just 1%? Suddenly, the value of your company isn't 10 million, it's 50 million. And that's not a small change, it's a completely different universe, isn't it? The valuation trap. The more money can lower your valuation. And now let's flip the script, because it's how it often happens in the real world. An investor doesn't give you a pre-money valuation. Instead, they say, I'll give you $500,000 for 5% of your company. So, what's the implied valuation? Implied valuation. You have to work backward. If $500,000 is 5% of the company, then the total post-money valuation is $500,000 divided by 0.05, which is 10 million. And to get the pre-money valuation, you just subtracted the investment. So 10 million minus 500,000 gives you a pre-money valuation of 9.5 million. Okay, hold that numbers in your head. 9.5 million pre-money. Now, here comes the founder trap. Let's say your pitch is so good that a second investor comes in and says, I'm in, I will match the exact offer. I'll also put $500,000 for 5%. You think, fantastic, the terms are identical, my valuation is locked in. But it's not. Let's do math again, very carefully. You now raise a total of 1 million for a total of 10% of your company. So, what is the post-money valuation? If 1 million is 10% of the company, then the full pie, the post-money valuation, is still 10 million. But what's your pre-money valuation now? It's the 10 million post-money minus the new larger investment of 1 million. So that equals 9 million. So your pre-money valuation actually went down. It dropped from 9.5 to 9 million, even though both investors came in on what looked like the exact same terms. How is this possible? Because the investors are implicitly agreeing on the post-money valuation. They are both saying the company with our cash in it is worth 10 million. Since there is now more cash in the pot, the value of the company before the cash had to be lowered to make the math work out. And it's a perfect real-world example of why you can't just look at the percentage. You have to be obsessed with the pre-money number because it's a true measure of what an investor thinks your business is worth on its own.
Let's bust the biggest myth in fundraising: dilution. Many founders think that when they're diluted, they're losing something, but they're not. Think of this way. A funding round does not take a slice of your cake. It uses the new money to bake a much bigger cake, and you now own a slightly smaller percentage of that bigger cake, more valuable dessert. Let's put our numbers on it. An investor agrees your company is worth 9.5 million pre-money. That's the value you've created. You own 100% of that. Now the transaction. The investor injects 500K. The company's post-money valuation becomes 10 million. In exchange, the investor gets 5%. So your ownership is diluted from 100% down to 95%. Here is the aha moment. What is your 95% worth now? It's worth 95% of that new 10 million pie, which is 9.5 million, exactly what it was worth 1 minute ago. You have not lost value. You've converted 5% of your company into 500K of fuel to make the remaining 95% worth a fortune. So, what's the real danger of dilution? If it's not about losing money, why should you care? Because what you are giving up is control. This is the practical danger of dilution. In a German company, for example, making changes to the shareholder agreement requires a 75% majority vote. As soon as investors collectively own more than 25% of your company, they gain a veto right, a blocking minority. They can prevent you from making fundamental changes. Once their ownership crosses 50%, they have majority control. They can now make certain decisions without even your consent. Dilution is not just a financial concept, it's a gradual transfer of power. So, this is why you have to think several steps ahead. You can't just look at the dilution from your current round. You have to project it across your startup's entire lifespan. This is why experienced founders fight hard to keep early-stage dilution to a minimum. It's not about greed. It's about preserving the long-term health and motivation of the founding team. Experienced founders are also very intentional about the number of personalities of their co-founders, because the very first and often biggest source of dilution is your funding team. So, choose wisely. Talking about valuation. It is a horror for an early-stage startup because there is no such thing as an objective correct valuation. So the philosophy, the valuation as an argument. There are countless frameworks for valuing your startup, each offering a different perspective. But your startup's value is determined by one thing and one thing only: supply and demand. The simplest and most powerful valuation method is to have competing offers. If investor A offers you 3 million for your company and investor B offers you 4 million, then your valuation is clearly somewhere in that range. There is a method 2, the most common, comparable transactions. What if you don't have multiple offers? We are looking for startups which are doing something similar than what you are doing. If a startup, a similar one, in your industry at a similar stage recently raised money at a certain valuation, then your startup should probably be valued similarly. Investors who have seen hundreds of deals have a well-developed gut feeling for what the market will bear. But the problem for you, the founder, is that this data is rarely public. You can try to fill this gap by talking to others, more experienced founders, but investors will always have the advantage here. They are using their experience to benchmark you against deals they've seen. And the method 3, the growth stage tool, multiples. Once your startup starts generating revenue, you can use the multiples method. This is where you value the company as a multiple of a key financial metrics, most often annual revenue. As you can suppose, it's not very often used in pre-seed startups. You can base your valuation on a potential future exit to determine what your company is worth today. There is also the VC method, where investors value your company by working backwards from a potential exit. They'll estimate a future sale price like 80 million and calculate how much of the company they need to own to get their targeted 10x return. For a 2 million investment, this math might lead them to 6 million pre-money valuation today. It's a powerful sanity check for an investor as it grounds the current valuation in a plausible future outcome. And what about that old business school favorite discounted cash flow, where you project your profits out for 10 years? Yeah, don't do that. For an early stage startup, it's basically financial fan fiction. Investors will just laugh at you.
The problem? Fundraising is a distraction engine. Okay, we have almost done, guys, but just you need to remember fundraising is a massive distraction. It's a full-time job. Lay it on top of your other full-time job of running a company. If you are not careful, it can bring your entire setup to a grinding halt. Product development slows down, customer support suffers, and sales pipelines dry up. To prevent this, you need a firewall. You need to protect your company's operational momentum. And the only way to do this is to centralize the responsibility for fundraising. One person, and only one person, should be responsible for leading the fundraising process. And this should be the CEO. The approach: getting through the door. The first thing to understand is the investor's reality. They are flooded with requests, hundreds, sometimes thousands per year. Their default response has to be no. They aren't looking for reasons to invest. They are looking for red flags to justify an immediate rejection. So, a warm introduction is the gold standard. When a trusted person, another founder they've backed, a lawyer, a friend, introduces you, you bypass the screening process entirely. You've borrowed their credibility. So, a direct call. This is a bold move, but it can work. It's a much harder to ignore a human voice than an email. A cold email. This is the path of last resort. Your email will land in the screening pile and your odds are low. Okay, you've made it through. An investor is interested. Welcome to the next level. This is a structured dance with several key steps. It starts with the first meeting. This is rarely a formal pitch. It's often a coffee, a video call. It's a vibe check. They're evaluating you as a person just as much as your idea. Your goal is to get the next meeting. And the next meeting is the pitch meeting. This is a formal presentation, often to multiple partners. You'll present your deck and face a barrage of questions. They're testing your knowledge, your comment of the details, and your vision. If the pitch goes well, the real work begins. This is the stage of negotiable talks. Over the next few weeks, the investors team will dig deep. They'll ask for financial data, customer references, and technical details. This is your chance to build a relationship and prove your competence. Regarding VCs, while they're taken to the junior members, the partners are having their own discussions. This leads to the investment decision. This happens in a partner meeting or an investment committee. It's a black box to you, but inside, your champion is making the case for why the firm should invest. It's often an anonymous decision, which is why having a strong internal advocate is so important. And if they vote yes, then congratulations! The next thing you'll see in the holy grail of this entire process, the term sheet. A term sheet is not a final contract. It's a non-binding letter of intent that outlines the core terms of the deal, the valuation, the investment amount, the key rights they want as investors. But make no mistake, while it's non-binding, the economic terms in the term sheet are almost impossible to change later. So this document sets the entire foundation for your future partnership. Getting a team sheet is a massive milestone. It's the moment the fundraising process goes from a possibility to a reality.
And that's our journey for today. We've covered a massive amount of ground, from the gut-wrenching decisions of whether to fundraise at all, to the surreal math of valuation, and finally to the play-by-play of getting that all-important term sheet. If you've stuck with us through all of that, I want to say something directly to you. You've just completed a masterclass in the fundamentals of fundraising. This isn't easy stuff. It's dense, it's counterintuitive, and it can be intimidating, but you did it. You now understand the language, the players, the rules of the game in a way that most first-time founders don't. That knowledge alone puts you in the top tier. The big takeaway from all of this is that fundraising is not just about having a great idea. It's a strategic process. It's about knowing which game you are playing, who you are playing with, and understanding that every number on that term sheet tells a story about your company's future. Our mission with this podcast is to give you the playbook, to demystify this process so you can walk into these meetings with a confidence and build the company you dream of. And if you found this deep dive valuable, it would mean the world to us if you'd help us grow. The easiest way to do that is to hit the follow or to subscribe button right now in your podcast app on your YouTube or on the Spotify. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave a quick rating, a thumbs up, or even a comment. It's the single best way to help other founders find the content and get the knowledge they need.